for questions, concerns, and so they can address any of them to you. So if you guys want to take it away, you guys are muted.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Derek. So obviously, this is something we wanted to do from the very beginning after street sweeping schedule ended last year. And obviously, we came out with that new schedule. We got a lot of concerns and questions about it. So what we want to do here now, we're going to go through the process in which how we got to this point, and at the end, if any questions we may not answer, then we'll open up at the end of the questions, okay? So I'm going to first start and say, like, since I came on council and got in charge of streets, a lot of people have reached out to me about the concerns of the street sweeping schedule being at nighttime and possibly changing it to daytime, because a lot of other local municipalities do it during the day. So we took their concerns, we took their questions, and then researched it ourselves over this winter. And some of the local ones that we looked out to were like Northumberland. They do it during the daytime from 8 to 4. Shamokin does it during the daytime from 6 to 9. Mifflinburg from 7 to 12. And even Lewisburg does it from 7 to 12. So a lot of local municipalities are doing it. And we even look outside the local municipalities, like, for example, Harrisburg does it during the daytime. And the one spot I looked in also, I remember a couple of years ago where Mayor Klovich went to Hazelton with the revitalization. So I looked into them as well. And they also do theirs from 5 to 11. So other local municipalities are doing it. One of the biggest feedback we got from these municipalities by changing the daytime was less volume of cars need to be moved during the daytime. Because in theory, more people are at home in the evening hours compared to during the daytime hours. So that went into making the decision to change it during the daytime hours in hopes that we have less volume of traffic of vehicles that needed to be moved. And then once we came up with the new schedule, we contacted the school district to make sure it would not interfere with their transportation issues with busing and vans of students. And after reaching out to them, they said with the 8 o'clock start time, it would not disrupt their flow of traffic for the school district. So that was a plus there. So after we created the scheduling of the new streets and we changed it after getting feedback from the first time, we pushed it to 8 a.m. start to a 1 p.m. finish. So after creating a whole new layout, we actually generated more streets to be cleaned than ever cleaned before, and also doing it in a shorter time frame. Before at night, it was from 11 to 7. We actually got that cut down to be more efficient for taxpayers to a 5-hour time slot, and now also being able to use that individual for other city duties. So we did a lot of time and planning and route design to make this more efficient for taxpayers. So, I mean, those are one of the big decisions that went into making this decision on moving it to daytime, especially trying to make it more efficient for everybody for taxpayer purposes. So now I'm going to turn it over to Steve here to talk about the process that he went through and how we are now cleaning more streets than we ever have before in a shorter amount of time.
Okay, so when we started this, we had a lot of different goals in mind. It was supposed to, basically, we want to sweep with more residents at work and not home sleeping. Shorten the parking time duration. We wanted to revise the schedule, include streets not previously swept, but qualify for sweeping. Plan routes to provide the most parking opportunities by not sweeping adjacent streets. Split sweeping streets with parking on both sides of street to give residents areas to park while sweeping occurs. Also, the sweeper operator works during normal daytime shift for safety. In the past, during nighttime sweeping, the operator worked with no other workers on duty, creating a severe safety issue. So those were what we designed the sweeper route with. Taking a lot of time to build it, and we're looking forward to your questions.
And we also met with Chief Hare about being able to reinforce it, the ordinance that we're going to change here once it gets the final schedule comes out. So we worked also with Chief Hare on making it possible to enforce and also work along with his department to make it a smooth transition from nighttime into daytime for them as well. So Chief Hare's input was included in helping enforce this new schedule for the sweeper. So that was a little bit of the process that we went through. So like I said, now we'll open up the questions to answer anything you may still be confused about or anything out of the ordinary. So fire away whenever you folks are ready out there.
And just for everybody that wants to ask a question, just so we can keep it orderly, can you press the raise the hand button to participate, or comment on the chat that you would like to speak, just so I can call on you so they know who is, so Josh, Councilman Brochus and Steve know who they're speaking with. So if you could do that, that would be great, and then we can get your questions answered. Does anybody that's currently on have any questions or concerns? Because I haven't gotten anything in the chat, and hands haven't been raised yet.
And for those individuals who are on, I know we've had a lot of feedback on Facebook about a lot of questions, comments, and concerns. And we did reach out or address those concerns that people may have. I know I had about 7 or 8 individuals email me personally. All those issues were addressed to them about the issues or questions as well.
So again, does anybody have any, that is currently on, does anybody have any questions or concerns for Councilman Brochus or Steve Welker? Question from, all right, Helen and Larry Beck, please unmute yourself and please ask.
I had a question on one, you're going to be changing all the signs then?
Yes, right now the signs are currently being changed. They will be posted here shortly. And I know I've spoken with Chief Hare about going out giving the warnings about how it's going to be enforced and the likelihood and when the streets are going by. So yes, signs will be changed and the warnings will be given out the first round or a couple weeks of sweeping, just so the people are aware of the changes and things like that. But we'll probably give about a 2-week grace period so people are aware of it. And I know the one thing we're going to do moving forward is if for some reason the street sweeper does break down, we're going to be in contact with Chief Hare about that moving forward. So his men are aware of that if it's not running in situations like that.
We're also going to be putting out brochures on everybody's windshield, going door to door, getting this out to the public.
And then also be in the paper, also with on our Facebook page and in the radio, to let as many people know. And like I said, this is going to be a constant through the sweeper sketch, the first couple weeks of sweeper sketch.
Is the new schedule posted someplace?
It's currently posted on Facebook. We are still in a couple more revisions that we're working on to address some residents' issues. And we will get the latest version into the newspaper. We will get the latest version onto the website, latest version onto Facebook, and we will be handing out brochures with the entire schedule on it. Again, it's a work in progress.
And the council itself would need to vote on those revisions, and a resolution would need to be passed to put this into implementation and to make it enforceable as well. So we have not done that yet. So everything that we're talking about has not been voted on, and therefore nothing can be put into place officially and enforced officially until it's voted on by council.
That is correct. And the start date that we plan of right now, obviously, we don't have it. We will, like I said, we will announce that once that official start date will be, obviously weather pending, if obviously if something happens during the weather. But the official start date will be posted and the multiple news media outlets to let citizens be aware.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sherry, did you have a question you would like to ask the councilman and Steve? It should,
That depends how you guys in the ordinance. From my consideration on streets end, it's every other week for me. It depends on what council decides on how they do the parking work.
What would you like to do?
I just do it every week, like you said, you're not sweeping.
No, it is just for sweeping.
But
Sweeping, but you won't get other work to do with the street or the software, you can still do it.
Conceptually, we're trying to get away from that. Conceptually, we're trying to get away from that.
so, with Sherry's question there, that has not been determined yet. I mean, like I said, once the resolution happens to the ordinance, that will all be made public to the citizens about if it's going to be every week or only the days that the street sweeper or the new signage is posted. That is yet to be determined because other factors need to play into that other than just the street sweeping schedule itself. But like I said, that information will be posted along with the new final street sweeping schedule when it is made known to the public.
Is there any other questions from anybody else that is on the Zoom meeting at this time? Andreas, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask your question. Andreas, you there?
You hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Will this information also be in Spanish, being that we have a portion of the community that is Spanish, and that's all they speak?
Yes, once the finalization does come out, we will put everything that we can into a translator to be translated for the Spanish speakers, yes. Or any other bilingual individual who may need it in different language, they can also request it back for clarity in any shape or form.
Is there any other questions from individuals that are currently on this Zoom meeting?
I have a question.
Yes, Councilman Reese.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there was obviously a lot. So you guys said there's a lot of questions on Facebook, right? So there's like hundreds of people that had questions. So you said you reached out to those people to answer those questions?
There was 133 comments on the original post.
Yeah, and then like 90 on the secondary one.
Pardon?
And then like 90 on the revised one.
And for the most part, Chris, every one of their concerns that they brought up were addressed in the schedule that came out on the second one. Take, for instance, North 7th Street wasn't being mentioned. Champ Avenue wasn't on the list. Those items were added. There was a question and concern about sweeping East Chestnut Street and Wolverton Street. That question was addressed. There was a typo on the one that came out yesterday, but that's been addressed, and we have a new brochure that we're working on right now that's pretty much complete in there. There were, I believe, 7 emails that were forwarded to me from Councilman Brocious. They were all addressed and replied to. Pretty much everybody we have that we can. What we would prefer is, instead of people commenting on the Facebook post, is to just call down to the shop. And just like every other time, we've addressed any complaints that have had come before us with the street. All you got to do is dial 286-5761, give a call, talk to me. We'll work with you. We work for the residents. We're here to make it right.
And like we said, like an explanation to do this, to try to make this more efficient for the citizens, for taxpayer purposes, and like that's our main goal. And just
So I guess my question then, I'll not even do it as a council, do it as a taxpayer, so and business owner. So one of the questions I saw put on there a lot was, now with this 5-hour period of no parking, for businesses that are not on Market Street, how do you see that? I mean, when you said, it's the goal is to make it more efficient, what would it be, how would you answer to those people? Because I saw that question asked a lot too.
Okay, you're
Now you're
getting-
saying that's 5 hours of no parking in front of a business.
Oh, for the businesses not on Market Street, yes, we're definitely, our original goal is we are going to not put any signs whatsoever in front of the businesses, okay? And those businesses are all called out on our spreadsheet where every single business is within the city. Take, for instance, Juigi's. We went researched what all their start times are, when their shops open, everything from the Daily Item to First National Bank to Napa, to all the different streets. What we're going to do is we're not going to put a sign at the beginning in front of their building, okay? We're going to sweep through there. We're going to get our timing down so we know exactly when that sweeper's coming through. And we're going to put a 15-minute window in front of each one of those businesses where you can't park there to give an opportunity for the sweeper to come through. That's how we're addressing that. We can only guesstimate so much as far as the speed of the sweep for how fast it's going to get there, when it's going to get swept, and we want to give it as short a window as possible in front of these businesses.
So in theory, kind of what you're going to is more of an adaptation to the ordinance to change the time when all streets in the city are no parking. So right now it says 2 to 6 for all streets in the city, right? 2 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Correct, yeah.
Law is to change that all streets in the city, that ordinance will say 6 a.m. or 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. pretty much. And then you'll have signs throughout the city dictating when that's lifted and not lifted, essentially. Because right now, obviously, the ordinance is there that it's in all the time. But then Catawissa, there'll be a sign that'll say Monday night you can't park there from 1 to 7 or whatever.
Right.
And that's the only time that we enforce that. So
Right.
that's kind of what you're thinking. So instead, am I right on that?
Correct, yes, that's the goal, yeah.
Okay.
We're also, plus the other thing we took into consideration, Chris, if you look at how everything is designed in the spreadsheets that I sent out to council, we're split sweeping in front of almost every business, okay? And any place that there's parking on both sides of the street, we're split sweeping. In other words, we're coming through on like a Wednesday and doing the left side, and we're coming through on the Thursday and doing the right side. That gives an opportunity, even if there is a business there, they can just park across the street, walk across. They still have access into the business or their residence.
That's a lot of signs though that you don't have up currently.
We're in the process right now. About 90% of the signs are down, they're removed, and we are going to be getting ready to start printing soon.
No, you wouldn't be able to print anything at least until, yeah.
Well, we're not going to be able to print until we know where we're going with things and get the latest and greatest approved at the next council hearing afterwards.
Okay. That was my question. The rest I'll bring to discussion then, I guess, later on.
Steve, it's Kurt. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kurt, we can hear you.
I'm traveling, so the service is going in and out.
Okay, that's fine.
When you're talking about the businesses and putting the sign there, once you kind of figure out how long it's going to take or what time of the day you're going to be there, how is that going to work? Is that going to be for that block, or specifically just that stall in front of the business?
No, it'll be for that block. I can't segment it down to just in front of the business.
Okay, yeah, that's what I just wanted to clarify that, because it seems like every block is going to have maybe a different time period here.
No, not at all. Well, again, we have it on the spreadsheet. I can send it to you, Mr. Mayor, if you want. we have on the spreadsheet with all the businesses listed, on the streets they're on, their times they open and close. And again, this is going to be an adaptive procedure. We're all trying to be creative in how we do this. We want to do the best job for the city. So, you know, that's our current plan, is how we intend to handle the businesses. And again, also with split sweeping, by sweeping on opposing sides, it should also help create a more parking for businesses as well.
Okay, and I saw that you had a updated list that you put on the social media, and
Right.
it showed that municipal lots, it was like every day or every other day.
No,
Is that, are you?
Yeah, we talked to several different people about that. We had some concerns brought to our attention, and we are adjusting that, and that'll be coming out in the new schedule. Again, we appreciate all the feedback and the positive criticism from people to try to build the best mousetrap we can here for street sweeping during the daytime.
Okay, and what about, originally you had a draft with a split time that was
Correct.
recommended by the PD not to do it for the enforcement reasons. Is
Yep.
there any way to look at that split schedule again? That way, because it narrows down the hours, so it's not such a long no parking.
I can definitely, you know, I have you see my spreadsheet, Kurt, you know, I have estimated times. That doesn't mean that's exactly when it's going to work out. We still have to run it to see how things work once we get things moving here and get through this initial stage. But once we get through that stage, if that's something that council would want me to do, it is something we can definitely do.
And like I said, as we said from the beginning, this is going to be a learning thing and adapting as we go. Like I said, if there's better ways to do it, we can get more done in a shorter time frame. Like that's our goal. And like I said, if we can do the split thing to make it more efficient, we can. Like I said, this is just the initial phase. Is to see what we can do and with what we got. And like I said, if we can adapt in any way, like that's the final goal, is make this as best as possible for everyone.
And
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman Brochus, but the resolution would be provided and voted on by council would be a trial period in, we'll say, 2 months, and then it would sunshine, and you would have to have a full brand new resolution to actually put it in enforcement for thereafter, correct?
That is correct. As you said, it'll be a trial period for whatever it comes out for X amount of time frame, then revisit it again, and then go from there. Correct? Yeah.
What concerns do you have regarding the enforcement of this, since there's no ordinance regarding the hours?
Well, I mean, I've been talking with the solicitor Joel about creating a new resolution on the current parking ordinance to enforce the new schedule that will be created here. And as I said, that will be brought to council as well to review before this, along with the schedule, so that it can be enforced during that trial period time.
Okay, because you know to make an amendment to the actual ordinance, it's not done in one meeting.
I understand that. That's why, like I said, I've been talking with the solicitor weeks on it to make sure everything's aligned properly. So when it is time to do it, everyone has time to review and we can do it in the proper channel.
And then if this is a trial run to dial down on the hours that it's going to take, and you want to change it, then you're going to have to amend the ordinance again.
Correct. Yes.
Which doesn't.
You'll have to check with the solicitor, because I don't think you can just amend ordinances every couple months. I think there has to be a waiting period.
Well, I'll check with the solicitor and find out if there is such of a waiting period and how long it may be, and we'll go from, and whatever it may be, we'll just have to revisit it at the end of that time period, whatever it may be.
What's the plan for the short term? Just so people, because sweeping would typically start later this month.
Yeah, normally we would start the first week of April, Chris, and that's still our goal, is to try to start somewhere in that time period. Right now, pardon me?
So it's not going to be possible to do that. At least not to enforce any of it. You might be able to do it, but people aren't going to move their cars, right? Because if we pass an ordinance if we do a first reading even on the 22nd, you're not gonna be able to even put an ordinance in place until April 26th at this point.
Well, the goal is not to do a new ordinance, just a resolution on the current ordinance. It's like what we did for like the open containers like that. It's just a temporary thing to see if it works for that time frame. Then if it does work, then go to the ordinance change as you suggested. If not, then revisit it with like at the end of that time frame, as Derek suggested, wherever we decide when it gets finished, to revisit it again at that point to see if we can make it shorter. Because like I said, I don't want to do all these ordinance changes. Obviously, if it doesn't work for this time frame, have to change the ordinance again. Just a quick resolution, like I said, for the time frame. Revisit it again. If it's working, great. If it's not working, revisit it. Find a better solution for it. And as like the mayor suggested, if it's possible to split the split time frame, if that's possible, then like I said, then we can do the new resolution for that. And like I said, that's the goal.
But you already took down every single sign. So even if you didn't have anything in place by the end of April, you can't even sweep at night anymore because the signs are all gone.
Correct. We had to make the switch, Chris. Yep. We had to start the switch, and honestly, we would have been further along with this if it wouldn't have been for the winter that we had. But we're aggressively taking down all the signs, getting all them cleaned up, getting them ready to be relabeled. We want to continue down the path that we're on, getting this new schedule approved, get it refined, get more feedback from the public, find out where they're seeing holes, and next meeting, get it again, and have through on council.
And as we said, like we got to start, and this is the foundation to start on. It may be perfect, it may be not perfect. We got to start someplace to try to fine tune what we have.
What is the wordage you're planning on using for the actual signs? Because I know a lot of people were getting confused with the north, east, south, west kind of thing.
Yeah, so I've corrected that. There won't be any northeast, southwest is a moot point at this point. We've changed and adapted our list to indicate odd and even house numbers. And beyond that, they're going to be able to look at the sign. What's going to be on the sign is no parking every first and third Thursday. And it is going to be on the new brochure that we have designed right now. We also took into consideration that some months don't fall. So we're looking on, it'll be the first full week of each month and the third full week of each month is when we'll be doing sweeping for 90% of the city. Now we did go ahead.
On the off weeks, so say my street's going to get swept bi-weekly then. So the weeks that it's not being swept, is the public going to be forced not to park there as well, or can they still park in the street?
That will be completely up to council, sir.
That will be determined because other factors need to go into that other than just the street sweeping itself. So like I said, that will have to be a discussion with council how we want to approach that portion of it.
Are you going to have this on as a new topic or discussion for Monday?
Or a discussion, I mean, we can have the street sweeper schedule as a whole, or we can have that individual portion. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, we can have the schedule on there as a whole, and that can be in the discussion as well. What we want to do with that part of the resolution of the parking ordinance. Yes. So they both can be discussed.
So what did you say about months that have 5 weeks? You're just going to go 2 weeks with no sweeping?
Yeah, it'll be the first full week in that month is when will be considered the first, we'll say example, Monday. The first full week where there's a Monday, like that would be it. For example, if you say the first and third Wednesday, it's the week that has the first full week of that month. That will be considered the first Wednesday of the month.
Yeah, we're not trying to remake the wheel here, Chris. That's how we look to other townships and cities, and that's exactly how they do it. They do it, and they recognize that the first and third full week of the month is when they have their street sweeping, and then everybody knows that's when they're getting swept. And we'll obviously put that on the website. We'll put down the specific dates, the specific weeks. put it on the website, and we will put it on Facebook
Yeah.
and publish it.
You don't see that being confusing? Because, like, for instance, June 1st is a Tuesday.
Correct.
That wouldn't count, right?
No,
So even though that's the first Tuesday of the month,
correct.
we don't sweep, even though our council meetings are the 2nd and 4th, they don't matter about the.
No, they don't. Yeah.
So that's kind of the opposite of what we do for everything else.
No, and I believe, and I've talked to so many different people on this. I believe it was Bloomsburg, or I think it's Bloomsburg does it on this same schedule like this, and they said they have no issues with it. They said people have adapted really well to it.
Are there any other questions from any other individuals that are on this council? Are there any other questions from any other individuals? Okay, that I don't see any additional questions, Councilman Brochus or Councilman Brochus or Steve. So at this point, Steve and Councilman Brochus, if you'd like to conclude this town hall, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, like I said, we're good. Like I said, we thank everybody for their feedback that they gave us. And like I said, we tried to address anything. If you do have any other questions moving forward, as Steve said, feel free to email, call us so we can answer your questions right away and directly. Anything we can do, let us know.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.